This is just a short flow for ankle and foot mobility. We're not going to be doing much working through the rest of our body, so if you want to have a little bit of a warm up beforehand, then please do. You don't really need anything particularly for this flow. I'm just going to be doing it in my kitchen. I've got a chair and I've got a work surface to lean on. If you've got a work surface, if you've got a wall and you've got somewhere to sit, then you're pretty much all good, with the exception that we are going to do a little bit of foot massage at the end. So if you can't reach your feet when you're sitting in a chair, you might want to see if you can grab like a tennis ball or something of similar size that you can just roll your foot on, or maybe you just fancy skipping that bit altogether. Finding your comfortable seat. If your floor in your kitchen or wherever you're doing this is particularly hard or particularly slippery, maybe you want to put your mat down. So just taking the choice that feels right for you. I'm doing this in bare feet, which is always better, I think, to actually be able to see what's going on with your feet, to see how they're moving and how they're connecting, and to feel the ground underneath you. So to really get that sensation in your feet working to help your feet respond to what they're sensing through the day. But I recognise that bare feet is not accessible to everyone, so just take the choices that feel right for you. And we're just going to take a moment to start with, just to connect with our breath. So taking time to soften your gaze, to close your eyes, have your hands rested on your thighs. Try and have your back away from the back of the chair, shoulders relaxed, face relaxed. Maybe just take a big sigh out and take a quick body scan, just to notice if there's anything that needs a bit of movement, a bit of a wiggle before we start. Does your forehead need a wiggle? Your shoulders? Your belly, your lower back, your wrists and fingers? How do you feel connected to the chair? Maybe one side feels heavier. Maybe you feel like you need a little shuffle and a fidget. How do your knees feel, your ankles? How do your feet feel connected to the ground? Are there parts of your feet that feel heavier than others? Do your toes feel like they're connected to the ground? Just noticing, being the observer, always with interest, not with judgment. And bringing your attention to your breath. Just noticing, not changing anything. How does it feel? Are you able to breathe through your nose? Is one nostril clearer than the other? Are your inhales or your exhales longer? Which parts of your body are moving as you breathe? And we're just going to start to deepen and lengthen our inhale. Soften through the exhale. Inhale to build space. Exhale, slow release. Equal inhales and exhales. And just noticing as you inhale where you're feeling that expansion in your body. Is it all at the front, at the sides, at the back? Are there any little adjustments you could make to your posture so you feel it all the way around? And just continue with that breath. Maybe taking a couple of rolls through the shoulders, just because it's nice. Maybe you like to roll both shoulders up and back. Maybe you like one and then the other. Let your shoulders come back to center. Take a couple of little cat-cows, lifting up through the chest, tailbone draws back. And then rounding through the spine, pushing your knees away. Moving with your breath. And coming back to center, fluttering, open your eyes if you're not there already. We're going to take a look at our feet. Something we don't always like to do, but here they are, part of you, and they work really, really hard for you. We tend to hide them away in socks and shoes and squeeze them into spaces they don't particularly want to be squeezed into. And we don't give them as much love as they deserve. They're pretty amazing feats of engineering. They've got so many joints, so many soft tissues in them to keep you upright, to keep you moving. And if we don't take care of them, really it has a knock-on effect all the way up the chain. So we need to give our feet a little bit of love and attention and appreciation just occasionally. So learn to love them. Looking down at your toes, maybe give them a little bit of a wiggle. And we're just going to see if we can lift our toes up off the floor. How high up can you lift them? And then bring them back down. See if you can spread them wide. And doing that a couple of times, because sometimes it takes our brain a minute to connect with what we're actually asking it to do if we haven't done this for a while. And then maybe see if you can bring your big toe down first. And then the other toes follow, lifting the big toe up first, other toes follow. And if you have any significant issues with your feet, this may not be for you today. And that's fine. It's fine to sit things out if they don't feel right in your body. You might feel that there's areas of your feet starting to get a bit tired already because you haven't used the muscles in your feet like this for a while. Just knowing what's right with your body, taking a pause whenever you want to. We're going to bring our right foot in front. So either keeping your heel connected to the ground, or I'm going to lift mine up so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to point our toes, so really trying to draw your toes down as your foot comes forward. And this can feel quite uncomfortable to start off with because the front of our foot can get really tight. Where we wear shoes, even if we think we're wearing flat shoes, they tend to have a little bit of a heel on. So that front of the foot can get real tight, where our toes are always pointed in a little bit of a flex position. So if you draw your foot up, flexing the ankle, see if you can draw your toes up. And as you point your foot down, seeing if you can draw your toes down. And just move with your breath. Maybe have your toes as a little bit of a drishti gazing point. Maybe recognise something in your toes that you haven't noticed for a while. Just noticing how they move together or don't move together particularly well. And then bringing your foot up, we're going to see if we can take some big circles. So drawing that foot down as our toes come wide and down, drawing them down, and as your foot comes up, see if you can draw your toes up towards your nose, making those circles as big as you can. And again, if your foot starts feeling tired, just feeling free to bring it down, have a little shake out, and then come back to those circles. And let's see if we can go a couple couple in the other direction. And knowing that my couples always turn out to be about 3 or 4. A yoga teacher's couple, maybe. And bringing that foot down. Just having a little wiggle, a little shake out through the whole leg. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So taking the other foot, either heel down or heel up. We're going to point our toes, draw those toes down, and then lift up, draw the toes up towards us. Just keeping that going, moving with your breath. And then seeing if you can take those big circles, so making them as big as you can, really thinking about that intentional movement. Maybe you can spread your toes a bit wider as well as lifting them up towards you as your foot comes up. And just noticing with interest, does this feel different or the same on this side as it did the other side? Does your foot look the same in this movement? Taking some in the other direction. And then bringing that foot down. Just take a couple of wiggles through our pelvis, particularly if you've had that foot lifted. Taking your pelvis, thinking about it rolling back and forward and side to side. A few in one way, a few in the other way. And then we're going to bring our feet just back underneath us a bit, so our toes are more like they're under our knees. And bringing our hands to our knees, taking a little lean forward so that your pelvis is tipping forward so your spine stays long. And looking down at your toes, spreading them nice and wide. If, like me, your little toe tends to curl under, so you can get that little toe planted too. And then on an inhale, rolling up onto your toes, keeping that little lean forward. And exhaling, feet come down, heels come down. Inhaling it up. Exhaling it down. Couple more. Really thinking here about pressing through your big toes. So if you tend to roll out onto the outside of your feet, particularly pressing through your big toes, knees stay pointing forward. And then bringing your heels down. We're going to come up to standing. So again, maybe you want to shuffle your feet back a little further, bring your hips a bit forward in the chair. Again, keeping your knees forward, nose over toes, bringing our bottom up to a hover. Noticing where the weight is in your feet. Maybe you feel like it's all come back into your heels and you can give your toes a little bit of a wobble. Keeping your gaze forward. Maybe you can bring one hand forward. Maybe you can bring the other hand forward. Then rooting through your feet, coming all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down towards heart center. I'm going to just shift my chair out the way and we're going to come to the work surface. So just having the work surface within arm's reach. You might not need it at all, but it's nice to know it's there should you want it. And just finding a comfortable position, feet a comfortable width apart, and having a little rock and roll, side to side, backs and forwards, just noticing where you naturally put the weight in your feet. Could you find a position where it feels like There's equal weight through all areas of your feet. So thinking here about our Tadasana pose, our mountain, rooting your feet, being that mountain. You are an inseparable part of the world around you. Legs gently drawing together like they're magnetized. Maybe have a little roll of the shoulders, palms come forward, shoulders relax. Finding your gazing point, your drishti, coming back to your breath. Inhaling to build space. Exhale to soften, to feel heavy and grounded and rooted, like gravity is really joining you to the earth. Keeping that connection in your feet. On an inhale, knowing you've got that work surface or that wall to support you if you need it, we're going to inhale up onto our toes. Just embracing any wobbles. Know that wobbles are the things that make you strong. Heels come down on the exhales. Inhale to come up. It would be no fun if it was too easy, would it? Keeping that feeling of your legs drawing gently together. How high up can you come? Moving with your breath. One more time. Planting your feet, feeling that connection again. Checking in that your feet are toes forward and your knees are forward. We're going to take that little squat down, bring your chest forward a bit to try and keep connection in your feet. Maybe your hands come forward, palms come up. Pushing the ground away with your feet, palms turn down, coming all the way back up, hands sweep back. Turning your palms, taking that little squat. Hands come up, palms turn down, pushing the ground away with your feet, like you're really pushing everything away. Rooting your feet 2 more times with your breath. One more. Finding your Tadasana again. Maybe having a couple of rolls through your shoulders. I'm going to use our work surface now, or our wall, and just come back into a downward dog position. So nice L shape, bringing your feet good hips width apart and just bending one knee and then the other to look under one shoulder and then the other. Really thinking about rolling up onto your toes, planting your heels, so we're really consciously moving our feet. How does it feel when you connect to the ground? And come into a place of stillness. So thinking about bending your knees here, so you can really draw your bottom up to flatten out your lower back. So someone could put a tray of drinks on your lower back and it wouldn't go anywhere. Bringing your weight into your right foot, coming onto the toes of the left. We're just going to draw that left foot behind us and see if we can point the toes without putting weight through the foot, just letting gravity do the work. We're going to see if we can place the tops of our toes against the ground. And this might feel really intense for some people, or some people might think, well, it's not really doing anything at all. Maybe have a little roll of your toes from side to side. If you want more, you can bend through that standing leg more. So more of the top foot comes down. Plus you get that extra bonus stretch through your standing ankle. Breathing here. pushing through the standing leg, drawing the left leg in towards your belly. So round through the spine, push the surface away. I'm going to see if we can step that foot up towards the surface. Lifting up through the back leg, turning the back toes out to 45-ish degrees. And just give yourself enough space between those feet to balance. So don't feel like you have to be on this tight rope. Bring space between your legs. So we're here and we're in our warrior one position. Thinking about the connection between your feet and the ground. Could you feel that equal weight through both legs again? Maybe you need a little adjustment to feel this. Bringing one foot out wider. Walking them in a little. Just play around with where your position is. Turning the chest towards the front leg. Maybe you can bring up one hand, maybe you bring up the other. Warrior one. Breathing here, finding your gazing point, your drishti. Maybe have a wiggle of your fingers while you're here. A circle of your wrists. Then we're going to bring our hands back down to the work surface again and straighten it out through that front leg. Don't lock out the knee, just keep a little bend in that front knee. And we're going to push the surface away. Like we're wanting to bring most of our weight into our back leg. So really using our arms here as well. Finding your gazing point, keeping that weight in the back leg, keeping both feet connected, breathing here. Just releasing that push a little. We're going to think about bending our back knee so it comes over our toes a little, and then coming back to that push, pushing the surface away, pushing the wall away, noticing where you feel this working on your body. Does it feel like it's working at all? Maybe it doesn't feel like it's for you today. Just noticing, being the observer. This is what it's all about. What works for you, what doesn't work for you, what does your body need? One more good breath here. And then coming up, bending through that front knee. We're going to step back into our down dog again and just pedal out your dog. Noticing how it feels on one side and then the other. Maybe take this moment to have a little wiggle out of your head as well. A little wiggle of your hips. And coming to a place of stillness. Bringing your weight onto your left leg this time. Sliding your right toes back. Seeing if you can come onto the top of those right toes. If it doesn't feel comfortable, remember you don't have to do it. Maybe you can roll your toes to one side then the other, just massaging through that top bit of your foot, but just letting gravity do the work, not putting extra pressure through here. If you want more, you can take that dip down, connecting more of the surface of the foot to the ground. Breathing here. Pushing the ground away, drawing that right knee in towards your chest, round through the spine. How high up can you draw it? And then stepping that foot forward with control. Taking time to lift up the back foot, turn it out, making sure you've got your warrior one leg position. Fidgeting as much as you need to so you can feel that connection comfortably through both feet. Maybe you draw up one hand, maybe you draw up the other. Keeping that connection, coming to your breath, being soft through your face, soft through your arms, maybe having a wiggle of your wrists, of your hands, your fingers. Finding a gazing point, drishti. I'm going to straighten up through the front leg, but don't lock it out. And leaning forward, like you're tilting your pelvis forward with a straight spine, sticking your bottom back. And thinking about pressing into that surface to allow the weight to come into your back foot. Noticing what's happening to the connection in your feet. Noticing where you can feel this working. Keep breathing. Just releasing that push. Thinking about your back knee tracking in the same direction as your toes. And then again, bringing that little push in. So more weight is coming into that back foot. Out. We're going to turn both feet, so we're turning into our goddess leg position. So you either have one hand connected to the side, or you could have both hands to the side, or no hands. We're going to take a wiggle down into our goddess legs. So toes turned out, knees over ankles-ish. Maybe you come up a bit higher if this is too much for you. But wherever you are, really think about rooting your feet into the earth, like you're trying to corkscrew the whole of your feet, the whole of your toes into the earth. Maybe you bring in the goddess arms, thinking about inhaling to build space, drawing that breath in and down, exhaling to soften, finding your gazing point, your drishti, continuing with the breath, and we're just going to stay here. And when I say just, sounds a lot simpler than it is. But finding your own goddess, that own power, keeping that feeling of connection. Two more breaths. And then on an exhale, we're going to root into the ground, legs straighten, arms come up, maybe your gaze lifts, chest beams forward in your 5-point star. Circling your hands down, turning the feet towards the front, toes towards the front. And we're going to bend into one knee, taking a lean forward, letting the knees come over the toes. And then take it across to the other side. Again, you could be doing this facing your wall or facing the surface. Working side to side. Every time you come up, really thinking about pushing the ground away. Pushing up. Rooting the foot. How low can you go if you're on a surface? Maybe you could even come a bit lower. Choosing your own challenges. always building in a little extra challenge for yourself. If you're finding something's too easy, could you adapt it, take it a little further? Working with your own body. And coming back to center, bringing that pelvis back up, a little push forward. And looking down at your feet, we're going to bring the heels in and then the toes in. Heels in, toes in, until our feet are more or less back to center. Comfortable distance, thinking about rooting your feet and trying to keep that feeling of connection. We're just going to take some circles with our hips. So you're still feeling like your feet are rooted. So your feet, that connection isn't changing as your hips move. So it might be really tempting to roll around on your feet, but keep that connection. We really want to make our ankles work here. Maybe you can bring in some arms. Maybe you can go in the other direction. It's kind of like you're one of those like air people that they have outside of shops. I don't know what they're called. But your feet are absolutely anchored and the rest of your body can move and wave. And then coming back to center, we're going to find our chair again. Checking in that our thighs, our calves are attached to the chair. It's definitely behind us. We're going to come down into that squat, that chair pose. Maybe we can bring one arm forward, maybe we bring the other. Maybe we just want our hands attached to the chair, but coming down with control. And just letting our hands rest down. Taking a look at our feet. We're going to come up onto our toes and back down. Just like we did at the beginning. I'm going to take some circles, but we're not going to make them as big as we did at the beginning. We're just going to do some soft circles this time. But thinking about bringing in some toe wiggles as you go. Maybe you stop. Have a good old wiggle of the toes, up and down, up and down. And we're going to come to a foot massage. So crossing your legs if you can. You can have your foot here or up here. Best if you can have it up a bit higher if possible. You may feel more comfortable doing it on the floor. Like I said at the beginning, if you've got a ball, you can just roll the ball under your foot, under your heel, your arch, the top of your foot. But otherwise we're going to take our thumbs and start in the ball of our foot. Just a little massage side to side. Just start to feel that different movement through your foot. All these different directions that your foot can move in. Just nice and gently, not forcing anything. Just feeling what your foot can do. Maybe have a wiggle of the toes. And into the arch of the foot. Sometimes people can feel really tender around that arch and the heels. So just be gentle with yourself. Is there any movement around the arch of the foot? Less so than the toes, hopefully. And then down towards the heel. How does the heel feel? Much more strength in the heel. Where most of our weight goes when we're walking all the time. heel strike. And bringing that foot down, just connecting it to the ground, closing your eyes and noticing how one foot feels, how the other foot feels. Just with interest, without judgment. Do they feel different? Do they feel the same? And then taking those little circles on the other side, not being too rigid, just gentle circles now, and a few in the other direction. A few little wiggles of the toes. They feel like they're moving any more enthusiastically than they did at the beginning of class. Taking your little foot massage on your other side, so taking your thumbs, really gently just starting off. Where's the movement in that foot? Does it have a wiggle side to side towards the top of the foot? A wiggly of the toes. Do they appreciate a bit of a massage out? You can spread them a little. Coming into the arch without any expectation that this will feel the same on this side as it did the other. Just noticing. Does it feel out towards the edge of the foot? Right in towards that centre. And then down towards the heel again. Bringing the foot down. Bringing yourself back to connect with the back of the chair. Softening the gaze, closing your eyes and just noticing. How does your connection with the floor feel now? Which parts of your feet feel heavier? Which parts feel lighter? Do you feel any warmth in your feet? Maybe where we've got the circulation going a little. Maybe you feel some tingling, those changes in the blood flow. How do your ankles feel? Your knees, your connection with the chair. Just allowing yourself to be soft, to be supported by the chair. Maybe allowing yourself a little smile for getting involved in doing this class. Noticing your breath. Coming back to that equal inhale and exhale. Aiming to inhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. And continuing with this breath for as long as you want. Whenever you're done, just taking time to tune back into your body and making any movements, any adjustments that your body feels are needed Maybe a big stretch, a wiggle of the wrists, a wiggle of the toes, the shoulders. But doing all of this in your own time. And I'll see you next time.